Hey everyone, welcome back. As you can probably hear, I have a little bit of a cold. My family and I have been passing around this thing for the past couple weeks. You won't hear it while I'm cooking because I filmed those segments a few weeks ago and I'm now getting around to getting this intro recorded and the outro and putting it all together. I bring to you today a game day spread that I spent about $25 on. I estimate it's good for about 6 to 8 people. For the four of us, it was way too much food, and we actually had it again for dinner the next day. All right, our menu consists of nuggets made from scratch, a veggie tray, broccoli bites, mini tacos with homemade tortillas, pizza, deviled eggs, and a dip. I have made one other video with game day spread, which was a video made with Dollar Tree items, and I'll go ahead and link that down below if you're interested in that. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get going. Here are the items I picked up to make our game day food. Our protein is this 10-pound bag of the leg quarters. I will be off camera separating that and processing that because I'm not going to put that on camera. Okay, and we have a bag of tortilla chips, some flour, it's a little 2-pound bag, and then this pizza crust mix, some taco seasoning, a can of tomato paste, a small can of salsa, and some pinto beans. And then moving along down to the produce, we have a head of broccoli, a lime, 2 carrots, some cilantro, a cucumber, a yellow bell pepper, a red onion, 3 little Roma tomatoes, and a regular sized tomato and a jalapeno. A small block of cheddar cheese, a small block of mozzarella cheese, and a dozen eggs. I did get my items from 3 different stores, mostly my local grocery store, a couple items from Walmart, and then I'm pretty sure the only Dollar Tree item this time is the flour. Here's a price list of the items, the individual items. I can't really show you the receipts because I have lots of items on the receipts because I did my full week shopping on those receipts, so you'd have to pick out items. So these are the items and their prices. And the total here for these items, $24.49. Also, for my pantry, I'll be using some of my spices, a little bit of sugar, and some oil. All right, well, after I looked at all those ingredients, I realized I got an entire 12-pack of eggs, and within the recipes that I am making, I'll only be using 5 of those, 2 for the broccoli bites and 3 for the chicken nuggets. And so I thought, well, I have a few cents left over in my budget. I'm going to go ahead and get this Greek yogurt, which was 62 cents, and we are going to incorporate that into making some deviled eggs with the eggs that we have left over. And that will actually bring us a little bit over $25, $25.11, but I think that is still doable. Plus, if you have mayonnaise already in your refrigerator, in your kitchen, then you could just go ahead and use the mayonnaise and mustard that you have in your fridge. Hey, real quick here before I get to separating these chicken pieces, I just wanted to mention, if you're not familiar with the 10-pound bags of chicken, here's what they look like. Let me just show you with this one piece. It has a drumstick, and then it has a thigh, and then a whole chunk of bones that's attached to it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to get the larger pieces of all the chicken and set that aside, and then the bone pieces with meat still attached are going to be going into my instant cooker. I will show you the chicken pieces before I get them going where they need to go. Here we can see I've got all the chicken separated and cut up. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes to do that, but I wanted to use that chicken because it had all the parts we needed to make this meal for a good price. So this is all the bones and the chicken that's left on that. I'm going to put that into my Instant Pot and cook that for 1 hour. And to this I will be adding 6 cups of water. And then in this little bowl here, I have some spices from what I had on hand in my spice cabinet. Salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder. I have more stuff, but I'm going to go with that because I think a lot of people have that in their spice cabinet. So we'll just go with that and not any extras. And it was a fair amount of salt. I would say it was a good tablespoon of salt. Yes, I'm going to get that in for 60 minutes. And I need that because I like to soak
the chicken nuggets in the chicken broth for about an hour before we get them cooking. So that's what I need that for, and because it's going to render some chicken fat, which we need as well. These are the larger pieces of chicken, and then those are the cut up pieces of chicken. There will be plenty here for our party. The chicken stock is done, so I'm going to go ahead and dump it out. It's very hot. Hopefully we do this safely. All right, I have the big strainer, because the colander, because I need to catch the chicken. I don't need the chicken for anything I'm doing today, but if there's any chicken left on the chicken, I'm going to save it and use it later in the week for something. And then I have my strainer down here to catch any of the finer bits. All right, let's get this poured out. Hang on, I gotta get my husband's heat-proof gloves. Much better. All right, there we have our chicken stock, and I will be using the stock to soak our nuggets in to get some flavor infused in them, and then I'm hoping to get a layer of chicken fat that I can use also. I'm going to go ahead and get this in the fridge so that fat can solidify and I can use it. We're going to be starting on our veggie tray here in a moment, but before that, I want to go ahead and get these eggs boiled for the deviled eggs. I am only making 4 of them because for us, that would make 8 deviled eggs and we wouldn't be eating more than that. But if you wanted to, there are an additional 3 eggs left that I do not have slated to use. I'm going to bring these eggs to a boil, turn off my heat, set the timer for 10 minutes, and then after the 10-minute timer goes off, I will be removing them from the heat and placing them into an ice bath. Now we're going to finish our deviled eggs. So I've got them already peeled, and I'm sure that you know how to do deviled eggs, but just in case there's somebody who doesn't, I'm going to go ahead and just show it to you step by step. So you cut the eggs in half, put the egg yolk into a separate bowl. And I'm going to mash them up. Okay, so now I'm going to take the Greek yogurt and I'm going to add in about 1/4 cup into this egg yolk. And this is instead of the mayonnaise. So if you would prefer to have mayonnaise, then use the mayonnaise. Okay, and then I guess we should put spices in. If you don't want to put paprika inside of it, then don't. But I'm just going to be using paprika, salt, and pepper. I'm okay with not putting mustard into my deviled eggs, so I don't know that I'm going to be adding it, especially since I didn't buy any of it. But if you have mustard and you'd prefer to put it in there, you just go ahead and do that. And I still don't think I used more than 1/4 cup because there's still about half the yogurt left, and I think this is 1/2 cup in here. But you put in however much you want anyway. I think it could use a little more salt. I will say that it's definitely not as fluffy as it is with mayonnaise, and I don't know that I want to add any more of the yogurt because I think it'll change the flavor too much. So we are going to stop at this point, and I'm going to now add the egg yolk onto the egg whites. Now to finish these off, I'm just going to add some paprika on top of it. And they're done. I'm going to stick them in the fridge till it's time to eat. Time to get working on our veggie tray. And the veggies we are using are tomatoes, bell pepper, probably about half of that, some broccoli, carrots, and cucumbers. I wanted to mention I have washed these vegetables and I need to still peel the carrots, and we prefer the cucumber peeled, so I'll peel that too. And here's my veggie tray all done. I have this much of the bell pepper left, which we'll be using with the tacos. And then I have lots of broccoli left, which we need for the broccoli bites. A little bit of carrot stumps. I'll probably just snack on those. There is over yonder another Roma tomato that we will use as a condiment with the tacos as well. All right, now it's time to get started on the Pico De Gallo. To make the Pico De Gallo, these are the only ingredients that I will need. I'm going to be using this onion. I'm going to save just a very small amount of it for the broccoli dish that I'm doing at the end. Same with this cilantro. I'm saving probably about 2 tablespoons. Not that I'm really saving it. This is not the whole stock of cilantro. This is, I mean, we still got more cilantro if we want it, but we don't need it. I probably would estimate I put about half a cup of chopped cilantro into the Pico De Gallo, along with this onion and this tomato, 1 jalapeno. I'm going to have to go get a glove to cut it so that I can still take my contacts out later tonight. And then we need the juice of 1 lime and some salt. And the Pico De Gallo is finished. If you saw me taking out some of the cilantro, I just felt like I maybe put a little too much in. Another thing that I didn't mention when we were making the veggie tray was, you may have noticed that I didn't get any ranch dressing or anything. That's because we generally don't use that for our veggies. We just eat them plain, or we will be dipping them in some of the other dip, either using Pico De Gallo or the bean dip that we're going to be making. But I imagine that if you prefer the ranch, you probably have some in your refrigerator. All right, let me get that Pico De Gallo in the fridge and we will get on to the next step. Next, we're going to make this bean dip. All we're going to need is some cheese. I'm going to use about 1/4 of a block of it. And then we need this little can of salsa and the pinto beans. So I got the pinto beans because they were about 20 cents cheaper than getting the refried beans. So honestly, I want refried beans. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to mash these down a little bit and add a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder for a little bit of flavoring. And I'm going to be using my immersion blender, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that in this can. Actually, I'm going to dump out some of the liquids and then immersion blend into this can. And then I'm going to be placing everything into this little tiny crock pot bowl. And that'll all be on a time lapse for you to watch. Here's the cheese shredded. This is 1/4 of a block. I actually don't think we need that much, because at this point I'm just going to sprinkle it on top, and then I'm going to plug in that little crock pot and let it melt. You can do it without a crock pot too. Just microwave it or do it on the stovetop. Now I need the rest of the cheese for, you know, other parts of this meal, so it's not a problem that I shredded too much, because all of it needs to be shredded. In fact, at one point or another, both blocks of cheese will be shredded. Here is our chicken stock. Unfortunately, the chicken fat has not solidified on it, and it's been in there for a few hours. So Just to let you guys know, it might be better for you guys to do the chicken stock and all that the night before so that everything is cooled and separated and solidified. But you know, we have to go with the punches, and so I'm going to be using a different fat. It does not matter what fat we use to make our tortillas. I'm going to be making them in my KitchenAid. Ooh. If you've seen my videos before, you know I like to use that because it does the work for me. I'm going to be using shortening, but you go ahead and use whatever fat you have. Vegetable oil is just fine in a pinch. No problem. You can use lard. If you have any other kind of animal fat, that's fine as well. But here we go. 3 cups of flour. And also, no problem doing this by hand. I just spilled some of my salt. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I usually like to just combine that together a little first. Yeah, so no problem doing it by hand. You just will have to knead a little bit longer than the machine does it for. The shortening goes in. 1/3 of a cup of fat. And then comes the water, and that you just have to watch. So I am putting in right now about 3/4 to start. 3/4 cups of water. I'm adding in a little bit more water. And I mean, it varies on how much water you'll need. That will be temperamental, I would say. Depends on where you live, depends on how exactly you measured your flour, but we are going to go ahead and let that knead. I'm trying to back up so it's not so loud on the machine. We're going to go ahead and let that knead for about 10 minutes. And if you do it by hand, you'll have to do it for a good 15, maybe more, but I'm going to let it go for 10. Here is our tortilla bowl after 10 minutes in the stand mixer. I'm going to go ahead and cover it with some plastic wrap, and it's going to sit there for about 15 minutes. Now that the dough has been resting for about 15 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and roll them into little balls. I'm going to make them a little bit small so they're like mini tacos, which I think are a little bit nicer for game day than full-size tacos, especially when you're trying to eat other things that are on the table too, you know? Now those are going to rest for about 15 minutes as well. If you ever need to let them rest longer than that because you're busy doing something else, that's fine. In any of the steps. It's time to roll the tortillas out. I turned my pan on. I put it on 5, which is like straight dab in the middle. Medium to high. But I guess that's technically medium. I have plenty of flour left to roll out these tortillas. So I don't know what the official way to do it is, but I just make sure that I got flour on my rolling pin, and I make sure that there's flour on my cookie sheet, or I'm sorry, I make sure there's flour on my board here that I have, my cutting board that I roll these out on. And then I put them in the pan, and they cook very quickly. I would say a couple minutes on each side max. I mean, they cook fast. But I'm just going to go ahead and stick you on a time lapse while I do this real quick here. this point, I'm taking the chicken out of the fridge so that I can divide it up, or I want to divide it up in. And this bowl here is for the chicken broth, chicken stock. I'm just going to put some in here. It's cooled down enough that it's okay. It's not going to cook my chicken. What I'm going to be doing is the chicken that I intend to use as the chicken nuggets, they are going to soak in this stock for about an hour. And that'll add in some flavor along with tenderizing it a little bit. All right, I think that's good. That leaves me with this amount for on top of the pizza, which I think is incredibly generous for a pizza topping. I'm going to go ahead and put this chicken directly in a pan. And of course, here's the bowl of the chicken for the tacos, which I will also now place into a pan. I'm going to go ahead and get the heat on this meat. These can both be kept warm after they're cooked, so it's not a big deal if they're cooked ahead of time. This one is the chicken for on top of the pizza, and this one is the chicken that will end up being taco filling. And for seasoning, so to start, just on the taco, just a little bit of oil so it doesn't stick, because I am using my stainless steel pan. And then afterwards, I'm going to use the taco seasoning. I'm going to be saving a teaspoon of it to put in my broccoli bites though. So save a teaspoon of that. With the pizza chicken, I'm going to do salt, pepper, and some Italian seasoning, I think. Actually, no, I'm going to do salt, pepper, and garlic, and that's it. The chicken for the pizza is done. I'm going to put it in my oven while my oven is on warm, just to keep it warm. In this pan, I'll be cooking up the bell pepper. That will be a condiment for the tacos. The chicken for the taco meat is done. I'm going to go ahead and get the taco seasoning in there. I did, like I said, I was going to save some. Can you see it? Yeah. So it's about a teaspoon that I'm saving for my broccoli dish. Other than that, I'm just putting the rest of the taco packet in there, along with about half a cup of water. If you don't think that that is enough seasoning for you, you can always add some salt and pepper. Or if you have more taco seasoning, you can add that. I think this will be just fine for us. But if you need more seasoning, just use what you got in your cabinet. The peppers also here, they're done.
I apologize for the sound of my voice here and this voiceover. I'm getting over a cold, but let me just go ahead and tell you what's going on here. I'm chopping up this broccoli. I'm going to use the rest of what's there. If you are starting brand new, you'll need about 2 cups of broccoli, and just chop it up, put it into this bowl, microwave safe bowl, and I'm going to cover it with a wet paper towel.
This is the broccoli that I chopped up. I'm going to put it in my microwave with a wet paper towel on top for about 2 minutes, and that'll steam it. It's now time to make the broccoli bites. So we have our 2 cups of steamed and chopped up broccoli. And to this, we're going to add the leftover of the red onion that we had. It was about 2 to 3 tablespoons. And then same with the cilantro. I think I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons. I had about 3 in my little bowl, but I'm going to put in 2. And then the 1 teaspoon of taco seasoning that we reserved. Then just a pinch of salt and pepper. A little bit of garlic powder. I would say probably about 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then you're going to need about a half cup of flour. And now 1 cup of cheese. This is a mixture of the mozzarella and cheddar from today's menu. And then the binder in all this is going to be an egg. I'm just going to crack it open in a separate bowl here in a moment. I'll be right back. All right, I meant 2 eggs. We need 2 eggs for this, guys. All right, that looks very well integrated. Okay, so I'm going to use this scoop here so I can get even portions of these broccoli bites, and I will be putting them on a lined cookie sheet. All right, so here they are finished and they're ready to go in the oven, and these will go into the oven at 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Now I'm going to make some pizza sauce for the pizza that we're going to be making. If you would rather just get a pizza sauce that's ready-made, you can. I was trying to stay within a certain budget, so I went with just the can of tomato paste. We need that can of tomato paste, and if you didn't know, it can come together this quickly and this simply with just a few ingredients. You can make your own pizza sauce. So after I put that can of tomato paste in, I need that same can with water. So I filled my tomato paste can up with water, and that's going to go in here. And then I'm going to add some spices. So here you see my little bowl. We have a tablespoon of, I got some tomato paste on my finger, a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, about a half a teaspoon, 3/4 of a teaspoon of sugar. I like basil, which is in the Italian seasoning, but I like it enough to add extra. So half a teaspoon of basil, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. All right, so I'm just gonna pour everything into this bowl, and I'm gonna give it a mix. You don't even have to heat it up. It just needs to sit and blend for, a good half hour. If you want to heat it up, you can. Sometimes I do actually prefer to heat it up first, but it's definitely not a must. So, and of course, if you like any seasonings more than others, put them in more, put them in less. If you don't like something, don't add it. I do add the sugar because it cuts some of the acid. But that is it. Now we have pizza sauce. I'm going to set that aside. Time to make our pizza. So the pizza crust, I'm just following the directions on the package. It says to mix the crust with half a cup of hot water. So that's what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to let that rest for 5 minutes. Then I'm going to roll it out and add the pizza sauce and the pizza toppings to it. Also, if I didn't show you guys earlier, I did shred all the cheeses. So here's our mozzarella cheese that's going on our pizza. I've rolled the pizza crust out. I'm going to stick it in my oven, which is at 400 degrees because that's what the broccoli bites are baking at. And I'm going to put it in there for 5 minutes, and then I'll go ahead and add the toppings. The pizza crust is all baked. Well, no, it's partially baked. So I baked it for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to get the toppings on, and then I'm going to put it back in the oven, 400 degrees for about 11 to 15 minutes. We're now ready to get the chicken nuggets coated. So 3 eggs into a bowl. All right, so now also in this bowl, I have 2 cups of flour. Into this bowl, I'll be adding 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. It's actually 3/4. The recipe I found said a whole tablespoon. but it's 3/4 of a tablespoon of garlic powder and half a tablespoon of pepper. I'll give that a stir. And very simply, we will be taking the chicken, which is in that strainer, and we will be putting it into the egg. And then into the flour. Get that coated. And then we'll repeat that process. Trying to do the one hand wet, one hand dry method here. And then set that to rest for a few moments on a baking sheet. I'm just going to repeat that with all of them. I have a feeling that it's not going to be enough flour to double coat them all, so we'll see how it goes. We still have a little flour left. All right, there's our tray of chicken nuggets. I did not double dip them. I left them with one coating of the flour mixture. There is still some flour left. If I wanted to do a second coat, I would definitely need to add more flour. There's plenty of eggs with the 3 eggs to do a second coating if I wanted to. With my long day here of cooking, I have drained the battery on my phone, which is where I do my recording. So it's currently plugged into the wall. This is our view. I think it is still sufficient. The only thing we have left now is to pan fry those chicken nuggets. And I decided to not do a double coating of the flour, but you know, if you want to, you go ahead and do it. Also, again, with our situation where our stock did not cool completely, we don't have any chicken fat to use as our fat for frying these. So I did use a little bit of my oil. Here we go. I guess I should add in, I'm going to pan fry these on medium to high heat for about 6 to 7 minutes.
All right, well, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you found this to be useful. My name is Casey, and this is When Casey Has an Idea. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.